We're going to talk about how to deinstall an eyelids for the season. First, you're going to need several tools. A solar disconnect tool that's plastic, and you're going to need this bit that takes the bolts out. It's a special bit. So the first thing we do is we go over to the unit and you take the bolts off, keeping one hand on the mast. The mast is pretty heavy. It has a solar panel on the top of it, and so it's always better to have a second person helping you with this part of the process to get it onto the ground. So after you've undone the bolts, you can take them and put them on the grass, not on the sand because there's goop on the threads. And you put one arm up high towards where the panel is, because that's where it's going to be weighted, and pivot it down to the ground. It's pretty heavy. It weighs about 40 pounds on top. And that's the first part of the process. Is we have to take the electronic sleeve out of the eyelids. If you look down in there, there's two solar cables that are connected where you use this special disconnect tool, and then a cable that goes to the modem. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is reach down in and unplug the power from the back of the camera so that that part is disabled. The power plug is the smaller black connector I'll show you when we pull it out. Then you twist the camera to one side, being careful not to adjust or bump the focus lens, and then grabbing the knob, you pull it up part way and then rotate it so that the second disc is locked onto the ring on the inside. Now you have a stable platform with which to work. For the solar panel disconnect, you take the flat part, the two prongs, and push it up against these two connectors, and then that will pop off. And you do that for both of them. They can only be plugged in one way, so you don't need to worry about positive and negative. And then for the modem, just using your fingers, unscrew it from the top, and now you can move the whole post away from the housing. For the rest of the disconnect procedure, you have a small micro connector here that's for the speaker. Just push your thumb down on one end and pull the larger end away. And the power connector for the modem, you unplug that. Now you're ready to pull it out, making sure to orient the discs so that they slide out easily. The first thing you want to do is unplug the positive terminal and the negative terminal from the battery to make sure you don't have any sparks flying. That's the end of this part of the electronic sleeve deinstallation procedure. Electronic sleeve for the season, find yourself one of these Rubbermaid tubs. It's called a roughneck, and take the whole electronics assembly with the battery disconnected and turn it flat side down and put it in the plastic. And that is all there is to storing your electronics for the season. You might want to charge the battery with a trickle charger for the season once you get it back to wherever you're going to put it. But that's it. Install the base from the footing. The same procedure applies. It's the same bit. You just back out the bolts. If there's dirt or sand in them, you might have to blow them out or even use compressed air. But all the bolts will back out. And then once you've done that, the footing itself is very lightweight. you have to take out all the bolts. Then that comes out. You're going to save the bolts, and you're going to have on hand the little aluminum cover for this. And before you put the bolt back in for the season, you want to put a little of the gray goop, which is anti-seize and WD-40 mixture. You should have some of that on hand. Always start the bolts by hand, and then use a drill to take it the rest of the way. The same for all the other bolts in here. And that's it for the season.